We are back again on Speed Street. It is the last week of October. Halloween is upon us. Conor is coming back. He is back from Austin, Texas, COTA with Formula One. I had a full weekend of being a dad, all things being a dad, really. So quite the quite the differences in our weekends, that's for sure. But we're excited to be here again on Speed Street. Joey Mulinaro and, of course, my partner, Conor Daly. What's up, man? Can't wait to hear about Austin. How you feeling?
It was a weekend. I'll tell you that. There's a lot to talk about. I think there is a level of interest that our podcast, lots of IndyCar, lots of NASCAR, very slight mentions of Formula One, but kind of going into this, we all wanted, at least I wanted, to be able to talk about all motor racing because we love motorsport.
Certainly.
You're a new racing fan. We're trying to get you up to speed on everything.
When does that new racing fan title fall off? I've been 3 years into it, kind of.
As soon as we get to December 31st of this year, you are a veteran racing fan. We're going to go with that.
Perfect. Cool.
It's like college. You go through 4 years of college. You did 3 years. You're going to graduate early. It's fine.
Love it. Okay.
So, yeah, I think I really wanted to dive deep into this weekend because there was a lot of cool stuff that happened. And there was a lot of stuff that I think is a cause for concern on the IndyCar side. And it's just something that I think needs to be talked about because I care so deeply about IndyCar, as we know. Saw a lot of great people there that also care about IndyCar. Met some great IndyCar fans, at the Austin race, but it's clearly possible to see a successful open wheel racing series like take over a weekend in a way that I have never seen before. It's the Indy 500 is obviously the greatest event on the entire planet in this entire galaxy. And there's no doubt about that. And everyone kind of knows that. And I would say that there was a very similar feel to just a, round 17 of their, or whatever, 20, whatever it is of their championship in Austin. I mean, right out the gate. Let's just name some of the musical acts that were in Austin. If you thought what's happening this weekend, I wrote them all down, or I wrote most of them down. On the weekend of Austin, as soon as I got there, there was Robin Thicke, Shaggy, Wyclef Jimmy John. I just called him Wyclef Jimmy John because it sounds more fun.
I like it.
Post Malone, Marshmello.
Shaggy's still performing?
Shaggy is still performing. I was there. It was incredible. I'm not gonna lie. I was thrilled with Shaggy.
Yeah. Life is one big party when you're still young.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
I would like to thank the Williams Formula One team for letting me attend that event. Continuing, we had the Chainsmokers. We had Deadmau5, Chris Lake, Zedd, Ed Sheeran. And that's just a few over a couple days. Sunday night, Zedd played twice, also with Lando Norris apparently on Sunday night after the race. I mean, that's like a festival type feel. And a lot of us with the Indy 500, right? We wanted that to be like, oh, there's like a lot of cool music going on too. Well, guess what? They're doing it too. And I'm not going to lie. That's a lot. Like there was a lot there. And it's we don't want to compare too aggressively because again, it is a world championship compared to, IndyCar is just North America. Obviously, we know that we're never going to have as big of a sword at the table as they are.
Comparison is the thief of joy. That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
What they say.
But what I so badly want to express is the fact that no one in America knew about Formula One 10 years ago. No one. It didn't matter who it was.
I venture to go 5. I mean,
5 years ago. Yes. Yeah. Because I went to the Austin Grand Prix, when it first came. And again, great crowd, solid, a lot of people. But again, you get a lot of people from Mexico coming to that event because it's not too far away. You get a good international crowd because people want to go visit America just to check it out, right? There was a big international crowd, and it was nowhere near. I mean, the paddock was nowhere near as full back when I used to go to the event. Even when Alex Rossi, I was there in 2015 when Alex Rossi raced the U.S. Grand Prix. Just a different vibe. It was more like, all right, here's everyone that's like racing for 20 years, or like, some young people who are dedicated, F1 fans. But now, like, Brad Pitt was there on Friday for practice, like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, when do you see a major celebrity spending an entire weekend taking in an event? Like, it's insane. And I think there's so much, like, I could literally talk about this for almost days, it feels like, because there was so much that happened there that I felt cool being there. I was like, wow, this is neat.
Cool.
I'm glad I came here, and I wore old racing shirts like that. I was very excited about it.
Yeah, no, you looked even more so that you belong more than Brad Pitt. Like you looked the part. You looked cool, man. It was good. It was a good scene for you.
Well, let's just start right out the gate on Thursday night. So I get there Thursday night from the simulator. I go into the hotel. I'm getting to the hotel. I'm staying with James Hinchcliffe, our good friend.
Yes.
He let me stay there, and I again, nice of him to do that. Walk right into the hotel. Huge crowd of people there as soon as I get there. What are they doing here? Well, they're waiting for drivers, and literally just waiting in the hotel, like just to see them. Or I don't know who was staying there. Literally I never saw a driver there once. So it was hysterical. But there was an F1 car in the lobby, an incredible Fernando Alonso show car in the lobby. Go to check in at the hotel, talking to the British man next to me. He's like, I had my helmet bag with me because obviously I was trading helmets with Fernando that weekend. And he's like, oh, are you a driver? I said, oh, well, not this weekend. I race in IndyCar. He's like, oh, yeah, my son's a driver. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, who? Lando Norris. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, I know Lando. And so we're just having this chat at the desk. And I was like, yeah, me and Lando played a ton of video games together over 2020. He's like, oh, yeah, that's cool. And like just had this nice chat with Lando Norris's dad. I like the guy. We had a great conversation because it took about 30 minutes to check into this hotel. But again, as soon as we get things going, Friday morning, we're going to the track. I mean, let me tell you, there's a crowd of people Friday morning too. Crowd of people in the lobby. We're going to the track with Will Buxton, good friend of mine, good friend of ours for a long time. Will Buxton, if you don't know who Will Buxton is, he is the very incredibly artistic British voice in the Netflix Drive to Survive series. He does F1 television, pit lane reporting. He's in the media center. He's interviewing all the drivers after the sessions for
Very
F1.
Cool guy. Yeah.
Very cool guy. Incredible voice. So I have never seen anything like this in my life. Will Buxton is like hounded as if Brad Pitt had walked out of that elevator. And it was incredible. Every single F1 person there was like, oh my gosh, Will. I mean, it's a movie star. It's movie star stuff. Like, that's it. Like that. It's not, he's not a driver. He's on the show. He's like a TV personality. Like, people love TV personalities, but like, he's on the show. Like, it's incredible to see that. And we hopefully we'll have him on the podcast next week, but he's like, yeah, man, every place that we've gone now, it's incredible. He's like, I take my daughter out for dinner and like, I have to take pictures. It's great. I mean, again, he's not complaining about that. That's incredible. But what an astounding change of pace, because I've been out with Will plenty of times and I've been to races with him before. And again, people recognize Will. It's Will Buxton, the F1 guy. I've done the post-race show with Will Buxton after the COTA race, but it was, I don't remember. Well, I guess NFL TV folk, I guess, would be like that. Who do you think would be like a TV personality that you'd be like, okay, that person's going to have a crowd of humans outside of wherever they're at? I mean, obviously you've got the former athletes, but like what pure TV personality that didn't play a sport, that didn't drive a race car, like is there another TV person? Is I don't know. Is it Joe Buck? Did Joe Buck play football?
No.
Okay,
yeah. I'd say Joe Buck, Chris Berman,
Chris
Boomer.
Berman, yeah,
Berman.
yep.
Al Michaels, I put him in there.
Al
Michaels,
Michaels, yep.
yeah, it's a good one. Maybe it's got to the point with like Ernie Johnson. I don't know with NBA, Major League Baseball, maybe old Teds with like Bob Costas. I mean, there's a few. There's a few. Yeah.
But again, we named all NFL stuff, right? Which is like the biggest sport in the world.
Right.
I mean, other than soccer, obviously in Europe, like the NFL, I mean, is king, right? So it's just that was amazing to see for me because I was like, holy crap. I mean, it's one of the most, it's movie star stuff. And I found that fascinating. So I like right out the gate, I was already like, oh, here we go. Like, I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this ride into the F1 paddock. And thankfully, we walk in there, and again, people waiting at the track, waiting for Will, waiting for anyone. And these folks, again, I respect what they're doing because there are people that line the entry road into the paddock because they don't have the passes to get like in towards the paddock, just to see the drivers drive in a rental car to the parking lot. Like,
I mean, if similar to like NFL, you'll see that happen. On Sunday at like 10 a.m. when players are arriving, and people will do that. The visitor bus will come, and you go and you flip them off or moon them or something like that. You know what I mean? That kind of deal. Yeah,
you have people waiting at the airport if they win a championship or something like that. Like, hey, yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
but like this is literally every day. You have people there waiting at the entry to the paddock, at the exit of the paddock, like before you get into the paddock. And it's just for a glimpse. Maybe they get an autograph if the guys are out of their cars already, like maybe. But it's the biggest level of superstardom that I think I've ever seen. And I've interacted with actors before, with musicians, whatever it is. And I've seen, Hollywood's a little bit wild because sometimes you see the paparazzi, out of wherever celebrities are coming out of restaurants. But realistically, there's not a bunch of people there asking for autographs. It's just a bunch of weird photographers. You know what I mean? So like that happens. This was like people just wanted to see them and get a picture or an autograph, something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like Formula One drivers and the surrounding parts of the series, they have that perfect balance of the Hollywood type of celebrity, but because they're athletes and drivers, that makes it seem more accessible than someone who's like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah. And that's a great point. Like you're exactly right. Maybe that's the case, but it's on that Friday too, we had our great IndyCar pal, Alex Palou, right? Recent champion. He's in FP1.
Yeah. How do you look?
For McLaren? Alex looked great. I was there. Thankfully, Daniel Ricciardo got me a McLaren guest pass so I could go in the garage and see Alex when he got out of the car. Alex, honestly, had the biggest smile on his face ever after he got out of that F1 car after FP1. and the guy did a great job. I think there needed to be a lot more recognition for the fact that the guy was only 0.3 off on the same tire as Lando was on, which is incredible. First time in the car, obviously, because the car Alex was testing was not the car that he would do the FP1 in. He was testing an older generation car in the last couple weeks. So to do that was great. And F1 gave him a bunch of publicity. Like F1 had him hand out the pole award the next day. Like F1 was, doing great things for IndyCar.
Yeah.
Guess what, though? Guess what was the most sad point of the weekend for me?
Do I want to know? Probably not.
Did you see anything about Alex on any IndyCar social media platform?
No.
I mean, it was the most frustrating thing for me the entire weekend because we have a recent champion. We have a very good driver. We have the winner of our last race of the season in Formula One. Now, again, I know it's a competitor, right? It's a competitor series. but it's still motor racing. You're not going to go to war with F1. Like, just be like, hey, cool, thanks, F1. Like, that's our guy. Like, I don't care. Just anything. Do anything to engage, because guess what? There were a lot of people engaging with Alex being in there. It was so cool. I mean, I enjoyed it. I was putting stuff out there. I got to talk to Alex. Like, how do we not? I don't know. How do we not explode that out? I mean, would you? It's like I don't know what to compare it to, but do you? I mean, how? Like, if I went and did, or if you went and did, like, if Joey, if you went and did a Monday Night Football broadcast next week, I'd be like, yep, let's blow this up like crazy. Or even, I mean, I don't know. It's a friend. It's someone that you work with. Like, Alex is someone that IndyCar works with. And again, I hate to throw anyone, like, we're not throwing anyone under the bus. I just have questions. That's all. I just have questions.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The closest thing that I can think of is like when Peyton and Eli do their Monday Night Football broadcast, and I don't know, Joe Buck. Here we go talking about Joe Buck again. But now he's on there. But formerly, like last year, he was with Fox, right?
Yeah,
definite competitor at ESPN. But like he went on Monday Night Football with Peyton and Eli, and you know that it was a, hey, tune in to see our guy. Hey, blow this up. Hey, this is a collaborative type of thing. This will be kind of like worlds colliding, Marvel type shit, right?
Yeah, because people appreciate
thing. Yeah,
people appreciate cool stuff. This is a cool thing. It doesn't matter if we're competing against a series. We're not. Our season is over. Like, we don't have another race until February. So,
just
like,
at least like a, hey, that guy looks familiar,
Oh my gosh, one tweet, anything. Like, it was.
He did look different in the orange. Like, it's weird. You don't see him from all the 10 ride, the NTT blue, and then he's over there in the McLaren orange. But anyways.
Yeah, it was funny, man. We had a great little chat later in that Friday too. It was me, Marcus, Paddock, and Alex, and it was just like this IndyCar crew all of a sudden just kind of hanging out together, which was great. But again, why aren't we all getting like there's a bunch of us doing stuff. And to be fair, I didn't expect the reception that a lot of us got, like the IndyCar guys got from Formula One, because again, I don't know how they like. Again, Formula One is generally an arrogant community. It is what it is. It's European. Formula One is God, all of the above. You know what I mean? But I love a lot of the folks that I've met in Formula One. Great people, great times. They love going to the racing events. And like, Williams F1 got me involved in some stuff. I was in pit stop practice, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, just fun, random stuff. McLaren got to hang out, with them a lot, their hospitality. Went and saw, got a Mercedes garage tour, hung out at Red Bull, because Red Bull, James Hinchcliffe's former assistant, Fiona, works for Red Bull now. So, like, again, there's a lot of great IndyCar connections. There's a lot of great, interconnected motorsport stuff. A lot of people asking about IndyCar, and it's just why are we not like, just there's got to be some form of, hey, that's cool. Let's all accept it. Like, we're not fighting against Formula One. I'm sorry, we're not. Like, we just, like, if they're going to give us anything to go off of, let's use it. Mario Andretti was driving a Formula One car on the weekend too. And he's a big IndyCar guy. Like, he drives our 2-seater every weekend. Like, why was there not like a more interact? Like, that was really cool too. So, like, there were several. Marcus Ericsson, our Indy 500 champion, was wearing his ring around the paddock the whole weekend. No mention of it. And I'm like, what is happening? Like, I find it just, it was just concerning. That's all.
Yeah, I'd say too, like, I remember when I worked at the ESPN affiliate in downtown Indy, when I was still like with a fan a handful of years ago, sometimes I would do some content that revolved around Pat McAfee.
Yes.
And some of the salespeople would kind of get shitty at me because they'd be like, he's a direct competitor. What are you doing? Like, you're just giving him pub and whatever. I was like, no, there's different buckets. Like, there's different buckets to this, and there's a place for everyone. Like, Pat McAfee may be in the same market as us geographically, but he has an entire different audience, an entire different reach than what we do as the local affiliate ESPN station. Like, it's a cool collab. It's not competitiveness. So that's kind of the parallel that I see right there, is that like exactly like you're saying, like IndyCar, Formula One, it's like the collab is going to be better off and more growth there than just ignoring it completely and being like, well, we're going up against them head to head. We can't really because then you're just going to get buried.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's better to do something than nothing, right? Like, I think that's always the case. And again, I'll probably get some heat for saying that, but like, I really don't mind, because I love this sport. Like, there's no one who can say, he's just trash talk. No, this is how I put food on my table. This is how many other drivers put food on their table, is the success of IndyCar. And we just want to see it grow. Like, we want to know why these things weren't happening. And if there's a great reason behind it, well, then I would love to hear it, because a lot of us are thinking the same thing. And it's like, hey, we just want to grow this sport. And if there are easy opportunities, I mean, to be fair, I did a NASCAR Cup race. There wasn't much interaction with that either. You know what I mean? But again, yeah. I think that even NASCAR put stuff up about me, and like, I'm an IndyCar driver. You know what I mean? And it's something that I think, again, everyone has their own deal. Like, Formula One obviously wants Formula One to succeed. NASCAR obviously wants NASCAR to succeed. But I think all of us, like, a rising tide raises all ships, we hope for, right? I said that like 10 times over the weekend. But
that's a company line, no doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did actually think that was the case, because I thought there were more people there. I thought that there were more people recognizing me and Hinch than I would have ever expected, which was great. And I think there was more chatter about IndyCar than I've ever heard in the IndyCar paddock. I saw Roman Grosjean was there. Pato Ward was there. Alex Palou, Marcus Ericsson, me. I had a great chat with Kevin Magnussen, who was an IndyCar driver last year for one race. You know what I mean? Like, great chat with Kevin. Every driver that I talked to, has like, oh, wow, IndyCar, like, that looks crazy. It's so cool. It's like, I mean, it is. It's just no one knows about it. So it's just,
right. Hey, do us a solid and get your fans to, give it a little bit of respect if that's how you really feel,
Yeah. Like, I mean, again, there was quotes from Daniel Ricciardo all weekend too about saying he is scared to bits of doing oval racing.
Yep.
Let's interact with it. Let's have some fun. Like, oh, really? Well, here's a lap of 233.5 miles an hour average. Like, what does that look like? Like,
yeah,
let's have some fun with it, right? Let's have some fun. It's just about communication. It's about taking advantage of certain opportunities. And again, it's not easy. Like, someone has to be, paying attention to everything that's going on. But I see everything on the internet, and I feel like I do, at least. And it's just one of those things that was a tough realization to come to, is I'm like, man, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of people that care about it. But is it for different reasons? Yes, they watch the television show. But it doesn't really matter, because everyone there, when I spoke to them, they're like, yeah, it's crazy now. Like, it is wild. We have so many people that want to come to races, so many people that are doing this, that. And then, you'd see some of the old, the older F1 media folk or whatever, who knew my dad, who I talked to, and they're like, oh yeah, it's so dumb now. We have all these people. I'm like, yeah, well, there's always going to be those
right.
folks that are like, oh yeah, we don't want any more people in the paddock. But it was a fascinating start to the weekend, just by seeing Alex out there, seeing Marcus. We even saw Logan Sargeant, young American fella, on Friday as well in FP1, which, again, I'm very passionate about an American in Formula One. I love that. I would love to see it. Him waving the flag. And I had met him for the first time that day too. I had to go up to the guy, because I didn't know him. He's obviously much younger than I am. But how cool was that? How cool would that be to have an American race in Formula One next year? Like, there was a lot of articles that whole weekend about Logan being in Formula One next year. And I
try to get him on the pod?
Not yet. I should have. Well, I was trying to get a lot of people on the pod this week, and everyone bailed. So I even tried to get Colton Herta this morning, but he said, no, I'm going to be asleep. So I
Classic.
I get it.
Classic.
But Colton Herta says he will join us in the next couple of weeks. He said, yep, I'm totally in. Just let me know, ahead of time. But
I wanted to go back real quick to something you said a bit ago about like the music, basically festival that was going on down there. And I know that, a lot of what we talk about in this pod is stuff that's, on the track, in the paddock, in the garages, right? But I think it's important to kind of have that kind of lifestyle, also the look at other things like that as well. All those acts that you mentioned, besides Shaggy, really, are kind of still just very younger crowd, very music festival type. Now you look at what we do with the Indy 500, and we love that weekend every single year, right? Carb Day is fantastic. Legends Day is fantastic, okay? But do you have a kind of and then Snake Pit, obviously, on Sunday, which is that kind of raging raver, everything like that we love. Do you feel like there's a certain point in time where we're going to have to cross over and have Carb Day, Legends Day be more of a full weekend music festival for sort of the younger crowd? Do we bring in more musical acts, or do we, to keep kind of the older generation pleased as well on Legends Day, and then we have somebody else who's not cool in the gang come in? What do you think?
No, I mean, honestly, the Indy 500 for us is definitely not the problem, right? Like the Indy 500, I think is great.
No, definitely not. But I'm just talking about like that weekend with the surrounding festivities about it. We always have, like I said, like Kool and the Gang or Earth, Wind and Fire, and these are great legendary groups and bands. You know what I mean? But the Gen Z of the world, everything like that, like you kind of want to get them out there that weekend too, right? Is there a balance there, or is that all for the Snake Pit, you think?
So that's a great question. I actually don't mind the way we have the musical lineups. And again, everything is pretty limited on how much money we can spend, right? Like a lot of these musical acts, they take a lot of money to get in.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Formula One teams generate more money than we do, right? And that's just a fact. So, Williams F1, they put on this event with Shaggy, Robin Thicke, Wyclef Jimmy John. So they paid all those guys to be there for Friday night and to be at the track all weekend. So again, you have to pay people to get to do things, right? So it's a matter of what can fit in our budget. And I think we do a great job. I think the Speedway does a great job with it. I think the vibes of the weekend are great. I think there is you got to mix in a little bit of classic, you got to mix in some classic bangers.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about the F1 weekend was that pretty much 90% of all those artists mainstream, right? Boom, top of the level, like everyone knows who they are. Whether it's a DJ, an EDM artist, whether it's a performer like Post Malone. I mean, heck, even Dan Bilzerian was there on Sunday for the race. I mean, it's just literally so many influencers, actresses with 30 million followers on the Instagrams, like just huge names there all the time because it's a cool thing to do. And probably since most people are new to Formula One, they probably haven't been to a Formula One race before. So they're going to check it out, right? And there's a lot of people who haven't been to an Indy 500 yet, but when they do go, they often come again because it's great and it is an experience. The problem is we have 16 other races, right? And I think we just, to get to a better point for all of those other races, people just have to know that we exist. Like it's just a matter of forcing it down people's throats. We gotta just let the people know that we are here. We have great racing. The big thing that I talked to about so many people over the weekend is our product is not the problem, right? We don't have a problem with the product. We all want a new car. We all want new tracks. But technically, if you look at our 17 race schedule, our product is not necessarily the problem. I do believe the racing could be much better, and so do all of our drivers. But realistically, F1 racing is garbage. Like, I'm sorry. It's the race over the weekend, not bad, actually. I enjoyed it. Like, it was a good start, some chaos at the start. You had Fernando Alonso flying through the air, crashing, but also still finishing. I think it was a very entertaining race for a Formula One race. But like 9 times out of 10, our racing, general racing, side-by-side racing is better than theirs. And so it just becomes, okay, well, then what is the issue? It's just people just don't know. You have to make it cool. You have to make it cool, or I think you have to play up the fact that what we're doing is crazy on the ovals, right? Like push the limits of life, right? We're pushing the limits of existing in race cars, right? I think that is something that could separate us from NASCAR and Formula One a little bit. And I don't know. Is that sound on par there, Joe, you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think here's my wish list, my top 3 wish list of people to be at the Indy 500. Well, actually, shit, I just remembered. One of them was already there last year. Maybe he'll return. But top 2 people I want at the Indy 500 in 2023, Jack Harlow and Drewski. Get them both there. Get them both there for the weekend. Have Harlow perform. Have Drewski just be posting Instagram stories and TikToks of what's going on there. And bam, right there, all of a sudden, now you're reaching a whole different audience. Now you're getting all these different eyeballs and hilariousness there. And I really think that it would have an impact. I really do.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? I completely agree. But also, every single F1 team seemed to actually invite a different celebrity. So maybe there's like a big F1 like mafia where it's like, hey, you guys are going to invite this person. You guys are going to invite this person. It was kind of cool. It was like Williams invited my friend Chloe Grace Moretz. Like I know Chloe, actress. She's in a great new show called Peripheral. It was really cool. I actually just started watching it. But she was
like #1 on Amazon.
Oh, it's awesome. Great show. Yeah, I loved it. She came to the 2017 Long Beach race with me. We put her in an IndyCar 2-seater. She still talks about it today, loves it. Again, we're trying to create some hype here. But again, Williams invited her to the event. And Brad Pitt seemed to be with everyone. Brad Pitt kind of moved around, but like Jerry Bruckheimer. Did you get to meet him?
Did you get to see him?
So we touched shoulders, but I did not get to shake hands. He smelled really good. I will say that.
Wow, but he touched his shoulder. That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. He walked by me a lot, and it was. I will tell you about one moment. Also, this is kind of really random. In Williams Hospitality, eating lunch. Right, we're sitting there. Me, Chloe Grace Moretz, Lily, who is a professional golfer, Alex Albon's girlfriend, like very incredible golfer. She's played golf here at the Speedway before. Very nice lady, incredible person. You had Jerry Bruckheimer in there, obviously producer of Top Gun Maverick, no big deal. He had a great denim Top Gun 2, Top Gun Maverick jacket on, was very, very jealous of that. Brad Pitt was in there, Wyclef Jimmy John, and I think Robin Thicke was also in there. And it was just like, in this room alone, there's probably $1 billion or like an absurd amount of, it was crazy. And then we walked out after the lunch and there was an entire arena of cameras and photographs just waiting for people to exit the room where we were just having barbecued meats and beans. Like it was a very wild realization.
Did you get too starstruck to just say, hey, Brad, hey, Mr. Pitt, I'm Conor Daly. I'm professional motorsport driver. I host Speed Street. Check it out. Come to the Indy 500.
Speed Street. I did not get to invite him on the podcast. But it's one of those things, though, that you just, if I was introduced to him by like someone there at the team, it would have been awesome. But like, I don't want to be that guy to just be like walking alongside him, like, hey, man, like, can I get a picture? It was cool to be there. I would have said, hey, thanks for being at a motor racing event. But yeah, just didn't get a chance.
But you have the upper hand because if that's me, then yeah, I can't do that, because I would love to be Brad Pitt one day, right?
Bro, you're more famous than I am.
No, but what I'm saying is you have the ability to say, hey man, yeah, Indy 500, you're an American. I know you've heard of it. Yeah, I race that every year and I go 240 miles an hour. And then he's at a motorsport venue, so he's already like, oh wow, you're piquing his interest right there.
Yeah, exactly. And that was, I think there's some of, I don't know. I would have loved to meet Brad Pitt, but in reality, it was just cool to be in the same room
shoulder.
having lunch. Well, we had lunch together. Let's just say Brad Pitt and I had lunch together. Like that's fine. No big deal. Brad Pitt and I had lunch. And I know the funny thing is I know Logan Sargeant got to meet him because Logan Sargeant was in there. You know, a lot of filming. I think he's going to be on the Netflix docuseries a little bit next year because America. Oh yeah, and I'm excited about it. But it was an interesting moment. One other cool thing that I'll get into as well. ESPN Golf had a setup there in the paddock. Like ESPN, obviously big partner of Formula One and their broadcast stuff, right? So they had basically a golf simulator at the end of the paddock, just set up for anyone to come and hang out and check out. Nice. I mean, awesome idea. Like it was fantastic. All the drivers went over and did their best drive, long drive competition. And then they had Michael Collins, that ESPN caddy like that guy. That guy's awesome. We became friends. We're definitely going to play golf together. And again, he's not been to the Indy 500. Guess who's now invited to the Indy 500? Michael Collins. Like, so I'm out here working. I'm out here every day. I'm inviting people to the Indy 500, like every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So again, cool, creative, interactive way to combine other sports. What did we talk about earlier? Oh, let's combine other arenas of the sport. Golf is, I mean, to be fair, not a racing car, but it's another sport, and you're bringing it in. They did the same thing last year with the NBA. They had a little shoot around. They had a little basketball goal.
I was going to say, 500 pop a shot competition. Let's go.
I don't care. Give me a field goal post in the middle of the infield and let's kick some balls. I don't know. Anything. Like,
there you go,
it's
McAfee. Yeah.
It is cool. Like that is cool because drivers appreciate other sports. I know half the F1 field loves playing golf. Again, it was a cool connection that was made. Lando Norris came. We chatted a little bit after the Saturday or after the Friday, I think even. And we all became friends with the ESPN caddy, Michael Collins, great guy. And it was great to catch up with Lando. The guy plays golf all the time. But again, if you talk to these F1 drivers, which I noticed, if they stay still for more than 30 seconds, it's impossible to interact with them anymore because there are then people coming up no matter what it is. Even if you're in middle of conversation, these people will walk directly inside, be like, Lando, sign my nipples. And it's like, whoa, all right, whatever. I don't know what's going on here. At one moment, too, Lando and I just having to talk about life, like catching up on things. He told me that I'm out kicking my coverage with my girlfriend, which is absolutely the true statement. He said, "Hey,
it's like a common theme on this show. People tell me
he's like, you're doing twice now.
Twice. He's like, hey, you're doing pretty well there with your girlfriend." Huh? I was like, yes, Lando, thank you. I know I am. I appreciate that. And there are people. So the way COTA works too, there's like multiple levels of suites that kind of like if you're walking on the walkway between suites, very similar to like the Tower Terrace suites at the Speedway, right? You have that walkway behind them and you can see behind. So, but behind these suites is the paddock, right? So we had a bunch of people lined up on this fence shouting, Lando. And I'm sitting there talking, and obviously we're just talking. He has to, if he waved every single time, he'd break his hand. And then someone shouts, Conor, tell Lando to say hi. And I'm like, I said, well, this is embarrassing, but at least someone knew who I was. Like, yeah, I'll take it.
Was McConaughey there?
So I don't think he was actually there. I did not see him. I think he just tweeted about it.
Wow. Freaking king of Austin, and he's not even there for the Formula One weekend? What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, but how about old Tim Cook being there, CEO of Apple?
I saw that. I was like, this is getting ridiculous. All right.
I mean, what the heck is going on?
I was like, where's
here?
Zuckerberg? Is he next?
Yeah.
Him waving the checker flag was something else.
Oh my gosh. I mean, just awful. But here's the thing. I am the happiest person ever to leave Sunday morning. Like that race day must have been crazy. Just leaving the track Saturday took an hour to get home from qualifying. Like it was crazy. The amount of people, the amount of craziness. And one other thing that made me angry. This was an upsetting moment. I was going to go get a tour after the qualifying day, Saturday, of the Mercedes garage. And again, Mercedes, I mean, big swinging hammers, you know what I mean? Like, let's go. Like, that's awesome. And I went with Mitch Evans, who's a Formula E racer, Antonio Felix da Costa, Formula E racer, and they're buddies. I raced with Mitch and Antonio a long time ago. Great guys. And I was like, well, why are we getting a tour? I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's get a tour of Mercedes. So this guy, very tall British fellow, very British. And I'm like, oh, this is going to go great. And he's like, oh, you guys race, right? I'm like, yeah, race. He's like, race IndyCar. He's like, oh, wow, that's really cool. He's like, you guys raced here, right? I was like, yeah, no, we did at one point. Yeah. He's like, you guys were like 30 seconds slower or something like that, right? I was like, you guys were like, yeah, like a lot slower. I was like, no, we weren't. Like, we were slower. Obviously, our cars are heavier and we don't have as much power. He's like, no. But you were like, we're way slower. And I was like, no. I mean, like, we were slower. It's also a very long track, easier to be slower at. But like, okay, continue. He's like, no. Like, so did I do some research? Yeah. He said that we were 30 seconds slower
Who was
than
this
Formula
guy?
One cars. I don't know who this guy was. I'm not a fan of him anymore. To let the people know, the true honesty, COTA pole time for IndyCar, 146.0, right? Now, again, in FP1, the cars at the bottom of the grid, we're doing 142s. So that's 4 seconds. The pole time for F1 this year was 34.3. Okay, you got 12 seconds. Like, whatever. Fine. 12 seconds on a giant track, understandable. Yeah, it's a lot slower. But, like, don't you dare insult my racing series by saying we're 30 seconds slower than Formula One. I mean, that is just – at that point, I almost burned the Mercedes garage to the ground. I was like, yep, don't care about this anymore. And
Yeah.
that was it.
Jeez, that's the worst, man.
But,
Those
I mean, but that's –
aggressive guys. Oh,
but also, it's just a sad lack of awareness, right? It's just like, hey, we don't know. And again, they shouldn't know because in Europe, we don't like, IndyCar doesn't race. It's, it's very American, blah, blah. But a disappointing moment.
yeah, at least you put him in his place, though.
Well, yeah. At the time, I didn't have the research. I didn't go on my, there was no phone service at the track. So I couldn't be like, well, actually, let me get on the Googleizer here. And I couldn't tell him.
We just see a tweet from Jeff Gluck. It's like Conor Daly gets in a throwdown with some tall gentleman in the Mercedes garage.
Oh man, I mean, here's the thing. Like we could talk about this for hours. We could talk about it. Like I did want to dive deep into this because I think it was interesting to just interact with a lot of these people, see the reaction to IndyCar. Me and Logan Sargeant got real drunk together Friday night. So I think that we are now full on Logan Sargeant people. I told him that we're celebrating the fact that he got to do FP1. He doesn't have to do anything the rest of the weekend. So let's have a couple cocktails. You know what I mean? And thank God he had a couple cocktails because I know several IndyCar drivers who wouldn't have even done that even on a Sunday night. So already respect the hell out of Logan Sargeant. I like the guy a lot. We should definitely have him on the pod at some point.
What was the bar scene like down there in Austin with everything going on? Was there F1 jerseys, gear everywhere, racing? I mean, what was it like?
Everywhere. And everyone was there for F1. I got very inebriated on the Friday night. Actually, no, Thursday night. Actually, every night. But I had a great time with Will. Like me and Will Buxton, we're having a wonderful time at this one bar on Rainy Street, I believe. Every third person comes up to Will Buxton asking for pictures. Every third person in the bar. And, we're having a great time. Marcus Ericsson is there with us. We write on this little funny board that Ericsson is Indy 500. And I'm sure people knew, no one knew who that was. But yeah, great bar scene down there. Incredible time. Always something going on. I mean, it was an electric environment. I have a few other stories that I probably am not allowed to tell about certain people that I saw on the streets, but great time.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like my experience at the 2021 Music City GP.
There you go.
Down there on Broadway. That was, yeah.
So this was a funny moment. So Hinch and I, again, the way I feel about all this is Hinch feels the same way, right? He's like, I can't believe that IndyCar, like we got to get this series into the highest level. So we had a moment on Saturday night where we're sitting with Marcus Ericsson, right? Me, Marcus, and Hinchcliffe. Someone comes up to Marcus saying, "Hey, Logan, can I get a picture with you?" They thought he was Logan Sargeant. Logan Sargeant hasn't even raced an F1 car yet. Like
Indy
he's an
500
F2
champ.
driver. It's the and we said, yeah, no, that's not Logan. And they're like, huh? What? And then they just kind of walked away. Then 15 minutes later, someone comes up and says, hey, can I get a picture with you? And then James is immediately like, who do you think he is right now? Tell us. Who do you think he is? And she's like, well, now I'm kind of afraid. And we're like, no. We will all take pictures with you, but like, who do you know who he actually is? And I don't think she did.
She just saw other people coming up.
I think she thought it was Logan too. And I was like, Marcus was actually upset. He's like, I raced in F1 for 5 years.
Oh,
like,
shit. That's true. He raced in F1 and he's a 500 champ.
So again, it's the new era. It's the new era of Formula One. And not only is he the Indy 500 champion, but he raced in F1 for 5 years. We were like, oh, no. It's just tough. It was one of those moments where I'm just like, oh, my gosh, it's really happening. Like the Netflix era, like it truly is a thing. Like it's just
that sums it up right there. That
was it. And it's something that we as an IndyCar community should be furious about because that's our champion, right? Like that's our guy. Not only did he race in Formula One, but he's a talented dude. He's won other races. Like that is just we have to be able to be related, like just to be in people's faces. You know what I mean? Yep. We got to be in the conversation. Even ESPN, Dan Orlovsky mentioned Max Verstappen and Red Bull Formula One on Get Up this morning. I was like, what? Like, it's just unbelievable. Like, just it's that overall, I don't mean to be super aggressively negative. I kind of like just telling stories about this whole weekend because it was wild. But it's something that, we have this platform now that we try to grow IndyCar racing. I actually had a great amount of people say they love the podcast listening down there, which was cool. Like great podcast listeners in Austin, Texas.
Appreciate
love that. Appreciate the people. But I mean, if we're going to use this platform, why don't we try to use it to grow everything? You know what I mean? Like, I want motor racing to be successful as a whole. So let's just keep flapping our wings and trying to fly.
Absolutely, man. Well, that's awesome. I love that. That's great that people are shouting it out like that. We appreciate those listeners. Another bit of news that dropped before we recorded on Wednesday, like we usually do, is the confirmation of Colton Herta, Andretti, through 2027. He is there. He is locked in. He is an IndyCar, and he is here to stay, it seems. What are your thoughts?
Well, and he's probably making a ton of money too. We love that. We love drivers getting paid. Let's take that check to the bank.
That's why he ditched us on the pod and said, "No, yeah. I'm big business now."
Exactly. No, it's good for Colton. It makes sense, and I love the fact that it gives them the opportunity. Because again, I had a great chat with Michael Andretti and JF and Dan Towers from Gamebridge down there in Austin. They were obviously still down there doing the research, trying to get their Formula One team going. I actually looked Michael Andretti in the face and I said, Michael, I will punch someone if I need to. Who do I need to fight to get you guys a Formula One team? Because, again, they're a competitor of mine in IndyCar, but them having a Formula One team just inherently makes IndyCar better. It makes everything better. So, again, it's a team effort here. We got to work together as a team. We got to bring this up. Love Colton's deal. I mean, he deserves it. There's nothing other to say other than that.
Yeah, no doubt. It was exciting. I mean, like you said, it could be for, Andretti's just locking him up. So it could be for if they eventually get that squad. But for now, it's not looking like it. So he's going to be in IndyCar after a summer of every freaking day. It was Herta. Is he going to get the license? Is he going to, they're going to progress? Is he going to get the F1? It's like, okay, now we can just move on. Happy for the young fella. Hopefully he joins us on the pod relatively soon. We hope. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. He will. And one other quick thing that as I look over at my helmet collection here, I got a couple questions about the Fernando Alonso helmet trade that we did, which was really, really cool. And I think
it looked cool.
We see this obviously if you're new to motorsport, it's something a lot of drivers do. Some drivers don't, but it's it's kind of like trading a jersey. Like you see a lot of times NFL players, NBA players, they trade jerseys at the end, right? It's like kind of a sign of mutual respect. It's a sign of competition. People you know, people you've competed with, and drivers do that the same way with helmets. Like I have several guys in my collection here, helmet collection that I've raced with, that I've had great times with, that I've enjoyed competing with, and a lot. I got a couple questions about like, do like people have like a ton of helmets they can just trade, or is it like used helmets? And like, to be honest, F1 drivers get a lot more helmets than we do, right? They probably get 30 helmets a year, maybe even more. But they also, use them all so they can do trades like this, so they can do things for sponsors. Whereas like me, I get 4 helmets a year, right? And most of the time, all those Formula One drivers, they're not having to pay for their helmets. They probably pay for the paint jobs. Like I luckily have a great deal with Bell to where I get 4 helmets, and I then pay for the paint jobs myself, which is part of it. And that's kind of how it works. But again, out of those 4, I keep my Indy 500 helmet. That's what I always keep. And the other 3 realistically are up for trade. Now I'm going to keep probably my gold one from this year, or the gold one and the Pokemon one from this year, because I thought those are pretty cool. Yep. I might trade the gold one depending on who wants to trade with me, but Fernando and I have been kind of talking about it for a while, and I like Fernando a lot. We were neighbors in the bus lot in 2017, his first race. And I have a lot of respect for him. I took a photo with him when I was a kid, when he was driving for Renault way back in the day, double world champion. I was a kid with his shirt. He signed my shirt. He then re-signed it at the Indy 500 in 2017, which was cool. Awesome. So it's just a mutual respect thing. And he, I know he respects the Indy 500, and I think he definitely respects those that he raced with there. And it was just great to interact with him. And again, that helmet in my collection is definitely, up at the top. I've been very lucky to have his helmet, Carlos Sainz, Jimmy Johnson, Tony Kanaan. I mean, Alex Rossi. I mean, Mark, all my close friends and people that I've had a lot of respect, for competing against. So that's kind of the background on the helmet trade type situation.
You said Jimmy, right? You got him on Jimmy too, right?
Yeah, old JJ. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that Instagram story you took was really cool. That's a tough collection to beat there.
Well, you know what? It's small, but we're trying to expand. You know what I mean? We got to start somewhere to get to somewhere else.
Absolutely. You doing anything for Halloween? You going as anything?
So I did buy 2 costumes for Halloween. Great question, Joey. I'm going to Los Angeles this weekend to visit my lady out there. And I bought 2 Halloween costumes that I just found while Googling random stuff. One of them I can describe as they're those costumes that you kind of have like situations, like it makes it look like I'm riding a camel on one of these. Like I got a fake camel in front of me, and I put my legs in the suit, and it looks like I'm riding a camel, right? That one's creative. And then there's also one that looks like I'm getting a piggyback ride from a leprechaun. So I feel good about it. I feel like there's some Irish heritage there. I milked a camel on the Amazing Race, so there's a little bit of heritage there too. So feeling good about the apparatus costumes.
You don't hear of those kind of costumes very often. That's not like a Spirit Halloween go find and grab there for you, man. That's I like it. Tip of the cap.
Yeah, I'm really going for it this year because I think my lady likes Halloween a lot, and she's much more creative than I am. She's an artist.
Couples costume?
Well, no. So I sent her your new boyfriends at Halloween video, which I thought was very funny. And she thought that was entirely accurate. She's like, oh my gosh, yeah, like that's hilarious. And so that's how I kind of felt like, and
is that going to be you?
Yeah, exactly. So I gotta, with no couples costumes this year, we're definitely skipping that one. I don't think, I think she would be able to have a much more free atmosphere by doing her own thing. And I'm just going to be the guy riding a leprechaun.
Ben, what are you doing?
I have 3 options on the table. I've been going as Hank Hill the past couple of years.
Oh, so, okay. Yeah.
But that one's super easy, and you can just drink.
Oh, damn it, Bobby!
Dang it, Bobby! Yeah. I have that. I have a boat captain, or if I'm lazy, which I'm kind of veering towards. Boat captain. I'm gonna use my old karting suit if I'm being really lazy.
So you guys, you drivers, you could just do that. Like if Conor wanted to, you could just throw one of his helmets on, and people would be like, "Are you a dead mouse? Are you a driver? What the hell's going on here?"
So here's a problem that I have. I put up an Instagram story where I asked people Halloween costume suggestions, and the most common answer was either myself or any other driver. And I'm like, why would I do that? Like, the point of Halloween is to be something else. Like, no one wants to be themselves for Halloween. Like, I dress up in a funny colored onesie every weekend. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do that on a Halloween weekend. Like, come on, people. Creativity.
Also, how big of an asshole would you be if you showed up as a new boyfriend dressed as yourself for Halloween?
I mean,
wait, what are you? Oh, me. You never heard? Yeah, I drive.
The dumbest move you could make as a man. Like, it's just like, no, like that is the worst. So let's open up our minds a little bit, folks.
Well, Ben, you can make it as like, you're just I don't know.
I could just go as Conor Daly. I'll just do that.
There you go. Conor Daly. Yeah. Good pub.
See,
for the
you
pod.
Can go as Conor Daly. That's acceptable. Like, That's but true. I cannot.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we usually like to be creative, and we usually like to put some effort into the creativity beyond the costume. But this year we just said, got the kid. We're just going Spirit Halloween. We're grabbing something that's already tailor made. So I'm going as Fred from Scooby-Doo, and she's going as Velma. There you go.
Classic.
Simple enough.
Nailed it.
Easy money.
Easy.
It'll be a bummer not to see her on the streets of India for Halloween, Connor. It's like, what the hell, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yeah, no more streets of Indy for me this weekend. I'll be fully locked in California, where everyone's creative, and I probably will have the dumbest costume. So we'll see what happens.
All right, looking forward to it. Do you have a driver or?
Yes.
Okay.
We do indeed have a random Indy 500 driver of the week. We will never ever miss this segment, and I want to do. This might not be that random for some people, but to go with kind of the McLaren-y F1 theme, because Alex Palou drove for McLaren over the weekend in the U.S. Grand Prix, we're going to go with Peter Revson from the 1970 Indianapolis 500. Now, I have heard of Peter Revson before. Peter Revson has quite a reputation, and I'm going to put him in the Googleizer now so we can get a nice little background on him on the Wikipedias. But Peter Revson, I believe, raced. Yeah, I know he died tragically, but he was a very well-known name to me, and I know my dad knew of him for sure. He was from the Revlon, heir to the Revlon Cosmetics fortune, two-time Formula One race winner, and had some success at the Indy 500. Peter Revson, born in New York City, son of Martin Revson, had been founding partner of Revlon Cosmetics. That's wild.
This guy slayed for sure.
Yeah. A young, handsome bachelor described as a free spirit, passed up an easy life for one of competition and danger. I love that. Peter Revson is a name that I know of for sure. Sadly. Go ahead, Joey.
My cat's just knocked down the gate in the basement, so whoops. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. Sadly, Revson was killed during a test session in 1974 before the South African Grand Prix in Kyalami. And I know my dad raced in Kyalami as well. A front suspension failure, brutal. Sadly, that was such a dangerous era of Formula One. Indy 500 as well. Obviously, there were a lot more guys back then who raced in Formula One. 1971, he finished second at the Indy 500 after starting on pole. So
nice,
great driver. Lost too early.
Most definitely, man. All right, that's it. Another episode of Speed Street. Last one of October. We've been well at this for well over a year now, so appreciate everybody being with us. Thanks for that recap, Connor. That was a lot of awesome, hilarious stuff. But I think it was, again, productive conversation that we usually have here on Speed Street. So again, follow us at Speed Street Pod on Twitter, Instagram. Be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pod. The video episode release usually the day after on Dirty Mom Media's YouTube channel as well. We appreciate you guys. Have an awesome Halloween weekend. Be safe. Dress up as Conor Daly. Tell people about him, about the pod. Well, they already know about him, but tell them about the pod. And Connor, have fun in LA, and we'll talk to you next week on Speed Street.